Caroline Diaz Goncalves came to the United States as a child and was given Dreamer status. But after a traffic stop earlier this month, she was detained by ICE and brought to a detention center despite her being in the country legally, where she says she felt scared and alone. Diaz Goncalves' arrest for a traffic stop is one of many that have raised questions about Trump's continued promises to prioritize detaining the worst of the worst.
The Department of Homeland Security will be required to detain all illegal aliens who have been arrested for theft, burglary, larceny, shoplifting, assaulting a police officer, murder, or any crime that results in death or serious injury. We will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail.
Despite that, new internal ICE data obtained by NBC News has shown that ICE has arrested only 6% of known undocumented immigrants who have been convicted of homicide. And almost half of the people in custody have neither been convicted nor charged with any crime. Joining us now is Jose Antonio Vargas.
That confuses me. Is he knocking ICE for not convicting or arresting more murderers that they let into the country, or that snuck into the country, or that ended up in the country? That confuses me, the way he's saying that. Is that it's only 6%. Well, that means that 6% of the illegal immigrants who are murderers have been caught so far. That's the way I looked at that. Like, what the hell is he saying? It just sounds like trying to justify the ICE units and ICE agents just stepping back doing nothing. Just don't do nothing, because you only got 6% of the murderers, so you might as well just not even do any. I mean, that's what it sounds like this man is saying to us. And we're supposed to sit here and support this? We're supposed to sit here and support them just opening up the floodgates and us just sitting back as citizens and allowing an entire wave of people from another country to come into our country and carve their own little place, but in the process affect our life, our quality of living, the way we live, our cultural life illegally. Make it a legal migration. Make it not a illegal migration. Make it a legal migration. Let these people come into this country with the understanding that they're already past step one of the 2 or 3 step process into becoming a citizen. Making them continue to sneak is not helping any of us. Allowing them into the country, and that's what is happening. Just opening up the gates, and the citizens here have to just sort it out. And that's so unfair. And it seems like the people who are making these rules and setting these talking points and garnering the support are people who should be doing everything they're doing for their constituents, for the United States citizens, and they're not. They're not. They're prioritizing illegal immigrants and brainwashing their folks into supporting something that could, and in some cases does, harm them.
Yes, founder and president of Define American and author of Dream America, Notes of an Undocumented Citizen. Jose Antonio, it's great to see you again. Thank you for coming to the weekend. The thing that jumped out at me, I mean, the entire story of Caroline Diaz Goncalves is distressing, but the thing that jumped out at me is her dreamer status. We've watched for weeks, for months, ICE detaining people who are undocumented, and even some who are U.S. citizens, deporting them to El Salvador and third-party countries. But the thing that I've always been concerned about is, what about dreamers? And now here we have, at least in this case of Caroline Diaz Goncalves, that she's a dreamer who got caught up in that.
Now, dreamers are the kids who are brought over. We're going to talk about dreamers too. I'm going to tell y'all my opinion of dreamers. But we're talking about dreamers, who are the kids who were come over with illegal immigrants, and the children of them, meaning they were not born in the United States, which means they're not citizens of this country. And Obama did this Dreamer thing. I've always had a problem with the Dreamer, the Dreamer name, because we are the people who had a dream. Martin Luther King had the "I have a dream" speech. Every time I used to hear about anybody being treated incorrectly in this country and the word dream was used, I was a black person. That's God damn it. Some things it just is what it is. People say, you can't own a word. You can. Oh yeah, we can. And you can own a speech, and you can own a movement, and you can own a whole lot of other stuff. But when you get people being crafty and trying to erase and water down what you were originally trying to get and fight for it with that same kind of vigor for someone else, though. But you have never seen the United States government, state, county, city, or federal, fight as hard for African Americans in this country as they're fighting for these illegal immigrants coming up from south of the border. A lot of these people feel because they are locked to us by land, conveniently located just south of us. They're Americans. They're already Americans. They live on the continent of America. They might not be North Americans, all of them. Some might be South Americans, but they are Americans. But they're not United States citizens. And that's where we need to draw the line, and we need to let them know that we have laws. I don't even know what our damn immigration laws are, but they must suck because everybody's sneaking into the country. And I don't feel I have to know what the immigration laws are. They are the laws that were put on the books by people that we voted in. That's all we need to know. And those laws need to be adhered to, whether we agree with them or don't agree with them. If the Democrats lost that fight when they were updated or amended the last time, then it is what it is. You keep fighting until you get it the way you want it, even in small parts, smaller increments, whatever you got to do. But when you sitting here because you lost and you don't like the way it went, so you just ain't going to enforce the law. That's what we have gotten to. It's unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable because you are putting those illegal immigrants above a whole lot of other things that we need in this country to improve the quality of life. What you guys are doing is accepting our quality of life the way it is, legislators, Congress folk, and making us stay in that spot because we good in your eyes, in your opinion. You don't want to give us more opportunities to elevate. You'd rather take those resources and that money and that drive and those protests and fights and expend them on the illegal immigrants and leave the citizens of the United States, and it's a whole lot of them, who need to be transitioned from homelessness or from poverty and into something else. And with your support, and if the illegal immigrants are being chased around the city by ICE agents, unfortunately, because the laws require that and allow that, it's time for our legislators to start working on us. It's time for us to turn away from them and say, work on us, the people who voted you in, the citizens of the United States who are here already, and not dreamers who Obama try to be slick and put a name in there that make our ears go, a dreamer. I have a dream. I want to, yeah. Well, our dream ain't been realized either. And it's horrible to try to put somebody else in our dream. It doesn't make it a beautiful dream, because our dream has been on the borderline of frightful, nightmare type shit, things you don't want your kids to have to dream about in the middle of the night. Resolve and fix that before you start lending names and phrases to another group who's got a whole nother different fight that they're going through. And I think there are words that are more appropriate for the illegal immigrants' entry into this country than dreamer. That's just my own person. I always had a problem when I don't like it. I don't like the way it sounds in that context. You don't assign nothing and give a speech and murder that man and all these while we were in school in the LA Unified School System, Compton Unified School District, Linwood, all those schools that had a large Inglewood, Carson, had all the blacks. We had Black history meant something, even though a lot of that stuff wasn't all the way on point, but the passion was there. The parades and the events. You go to a Martin Luther King parade now, it's all Hispanic mostly. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. But we are not and we're not a coalition. We need to get ourselves separated so that we can see progress and failure more clearly. Because when we get muddled into a group of people who are heading upward, we might falsely claim some of that as victories and moves forward for us, and it really isn't. It's under the illusion of us being merged together, and that way they don't ever have to fight for you individually and exclusively. They'll always have a way to say, hey, we put it out there, and nobody's really counting then. And if they do, they're counting you into a group and not as an individual, where we can clearly see that things aren't getting any better for us. And that they are willing to bring Mexican immigrants and El Salvadorian immigrants and Guatemalans and wherever they might be from, and allowing them to sneak into our country, just grow. We're coming in by the groves, just many, too many to count. And then once they arrive, we're expected to live amongst them while you figure out if they're worthy of being here. Well, she's been here 7 years and hasn't committed any crimes. That was a lucky good guess. She worked out. But this guy over here might be a child molester or a rapist and an undocumented one to boot, which means other than just seeing him around the neighborhood, nobody really knows who this person is, where he came from, what his history or past is. And we're okay. Our government is okay with allowing dangers like that to exist without figuring out, you know what, we're going to let a lot of illegal immigrants in here, but we're going to kind of weed them out at the border a little better than what we've been doing. We've been allowing them to come in on their own accord and let human trafficking flourish. By knowing that there is a country where you can flood into undocumented, you're just encouraging sex trafficking and child trafficking and kidnapping and rapes and drug sales. You're encouraging it because everyone knows that you have a open gate that all kind of illegal activity can go through, going both directions even. And we want to sit here and play like we don't get it. And it's all about the human rights it's about our rights too. It's about our comfort and safety levels too. And if the safety levels of allowing illegal immigrants in on the general population in the United States is low, then let's push for it to be lower. But let's get it down to zero then, if it's not that big of a deal and if it's that easy to do. And if you can only look at charts and graphs and studies that are being conducted and talked about, but about the communities that they're allowed to go live in. Not the community that most people who read that stuff or who get on the news and talk about it, they don't live in their communities for the most part. And if they do, they come in and they clean their houses. They work in the shadows and in the low parts of the community where they're abusing those folks. They're not identifying with them. They're fighting for them to stay so that they can get some kind of financial or service that benefits them out of those folks. And it ain't right. There ain't no way we should be going for this. What we should be going for is something that benefits ourselves. When we get out there in the streets, because the Democrats are going to start yelling real soon. They're out in the streets in LA, in Seattle, in Florida. You know, they're going to make it look like the people just couldn't take it no more. They're encouraging you to get out into the streets. They're encouraging you to go out and protest and fight for the civil rights and immigration rights of the illegal immigrants. They're encouraging that, knowing damn well that you can be killed. Not only by the police, but by there are people flaring up in the crowd, busting windows, looting, getting violent, setting cars on fire. They're panning areas where they've had these huge protests in California, and they're saying the nonviolent protest today in the Beverly Wilshire area. You're like, wait a minute. The nonviolent protest in the West Compton area. You're like, wow, nonviolent. But then there's panning fires and people walking in all directions. It might not be as violent as, just obviously people's heads getting cracked in the street, but I wouldn't feel safe with me or my family members just walking through there. And I don't feel that we, by our appearance, would look to obviously oppose Hispanics or their movement or whatever they're going through on the illegal immigration front. But I wouldn't feel safe with anybody that I care about out there because it is not as organized as they pretended to be. A lot of it is people being whipped up and pushed out there without a lead, without a guide, without some understanding of what they're out there doing. And most of them are out there filled with passion, but not with a lot of understanding. And that's a pretty dangerous combination.
You're also a dreamer. How concerned are you that is the next frontier in the president's drive at mass deportation?
Very, very concerned. Very, very concerned because we have hundreds of thousands of dreamers across the country, not only enrolled.
And I'm going to say it again. I'm a dreamer. And a lot of people who grew up with me are dreamers. And some people are dreamers and don't even know they dreamers. But I don't feel our dreams have ever been fulfilled. Not to be in competition, and it sure sounds like it, not to be in competition with illegal immigrants because there's no way we should be. But for us and our words and our terms and our methods, they should be ours. And people like Obama who pop up looking like us and doing that kind of shit, it makes it look like people like me are like a little bitter. And I guess I am, but shit. Can we have something that's ours that works? Can we have something that's of ours that really gets us where we need to be? Can we have something of ours that's exclusively ours so we can see what it do and what it don't do without incorporating a bunch of illegal immigrants and putting that name, that term, dreamer. And if I'm alone, please let me know. Is there anybody else who in the beginning or hearing about that dreamer was thinking about black people at some point? Like, damn, dreamer. And they're totally justified in dreaming and hoping and wishing and all of that stuff. But that coming from Obama just seemed like a little low blow to me. Like he just kind of didn't have to use that term. It's so much other, thing. That would be like putting a title on them like freedom or whatever. You got freedom. You have the freedom to choose to come into the United States and then deal with whatever is there waiting on them. But they're being tipped off and helped. And it's just something that has never happened. We've never, as a group of people, to this day, received the kind of support that the illegal immigrants coming in from the southern border have. You can compare it over the whole post-slavery existence of us in this country. There has never been a history of United States citizens burning out Hispanic businesses when they come over and start them up. Even knowing that there are undocumented people owning and running these businesses, all types of businesses allowed to run their course, to grow, to flourish. They've never had to deal with being intentionally sabotaged, physically shut down and run off. They've been allowed to come initially and operate in communities that they didn't even occupy in large numbers, which they occupy in large numbers now. So I see the benefit of allowing illegal immigrants in, allowing them to have birthright citizenship, allowing them to qualify for loans and programs and money that some citizens of the United States who are in need don't qualify for. I get that part. It's hard to watch. And it's hard for people to say anything because they take history and distort it so to such a degree that people who get their information on history from the United States educational systems, elementary, high school, and college, are so brainwashed and off the mark that they believe truly in their heart it must be something wrong with them black people. Everybody else come to this country. Look at these illegal immigrants. They're coming in from the bottom. And they're illegal immigrants. And then once they get in this country and you don't have ICE agents bothering them and messing with them, they do pretty good. So people wonder, what is wrong with those blacks? Why can't they get it? Why can't they?
In colleges, right? But are working professionals. People forget the DACA program that President Obama introduced in 2012 is 13 years old. So we have dreamers in all industries across the country. I'm trying to think right now. Maybe I'm up to like 30 people that I've been talking to this past week of everyone just concerned. And I have to say, out of those 30, probably 24 or so, no, 27 have decided that they're going to leave the country. Doctors, engineers, accountants, right?
Doctors, engineers, accountants. This guy didn't say any fruit pickers. He didn't say any food processors. He didn't say any hotel cleaners. He didn't say any of those people. So why in the world would a doctor be an undocumented person in the United States of America and self-deport, and an engineer and an architect? Well, that doesn't make sense. Why is a person who has that kind of status in any country sneaking into another country? If you decide you're a doctor and you don't want to be a doctor in Mexico anymore or in El Salvador anymore, you can apply and probably get citizenship in the United States. Is this exaggerated? Is this dude just lying? That shit don't even make sense. You're a doctor and well, I'm going to self-deport because now they might pull me over and give me problems. I don't know. I don't know. But if doctors are sneaking into the country, something must be done. This doesn't even make sense to me, but I don't believe it. I call bullshit.
One plumber. I think we need plumbers in this country. So it's just been incredibly distressing, the panic, the sheer panic. And mind you, let's remind people what happened in Caroline. Most states in America do not let undocumented people drive.
And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. What are you shocked by this shit? It would make them less likely to be out rolling in a vehicle. Now they can get driver's license and insurance in sanctuary states and cities, but that don't make it right. That don't make it right. Why in the world? If you come here and you're visiting the United States, there's no reason for you to get a license. Use the license from the country or state or town or city or wherever the jurisdiction is you're from. But don't be over here with a no license and they're allowing you to get a license, which is saying you're not leaving. That's your little wink, wink, nod, nod identification that at most levels all you need. You go to employers, you don't have a social security card and they hire you anyway. What does that mean? What does that mean for that business? Obviously nothing. It means that our politicians and our police departments aren't doing their job on purpose. They're intentionally allowing the points that they can control to overflow with illegal immigration, to be the excess that in the near future they refer to as insurmountable, unreturnable. It's no way we can ever turn it back. We can't. It's no way. It's too many. Yeah, that's your strategy. Just overflood the system, hit them hard, hit them with those numbers, and then say, hey, there's nothing we can do. It's just too many of them in here. There's nothing we can do. That's terrible.
Most states in America don't let us drive. So the first time we actually encounter, traffic violation in the Trump era, people can get arrested on a traffic stop. Like, for example, if you're in Florida, 900,000 undocumented people in the state of Florida. That's like the whole population of South Dakota. 1.4 million undocumented people in Texas. That's the size of, West Virginia? Like, this is what's happening in our country. And I think the sheer panic and the incoherence, the Supreme Court ruling yesterday, in this country, I think by the end of July, there's going to be 26 states where if you're an undocumented person and you give birth to somebody in this country, what is the citizenship of that child going to be? That's part.
It should be the same citizenship that their parents have. If you're born to somebody from Spain and you happen to be visiting the United States, your child is a citizen of Spain. Nowadays, and according to the United States Constitution, that child has birthright citizenship. But where Trump is trying to take us is the birthright citizenship goes away. And, I don't know, call me whatever. But you would be a fool as a United States citizen to fight to allow birthright citizen to continue, because that's not what it was for. It wasn't, birthright citizenship wasn't made to be abused like that. For them to use it as a little way to jump over the line or sneak, that's not what it was meant for. And that's what it's being used for. And it should have been dealt with a long time ago. But it's been working okay for these politicians who most of us should never, ever vote for again. Some of these people have your best interests not even in their radar, not even, trust and believe me. Your thoughts and beliefs and the things that you need mean so little to them. Do you see your needs being met? Do you see them on TV, on press conferences, addressing you and the segment of the population that you belong to? Unless you're an illegal immigrant who's front and center. Illegal immigration by the Republicans or the Democrats should not be the center of our conversations, because as long as we're dealing with that and they're the center of they're either progressing or regressing while we just run in place and watch the news. We need to be put in the center there as Americans who are already here and talked about and grappled over and cared about. They actually act like, no, don't let the illegal immigrants go. You can't. We need them here. Our country's going to fall apart without them. Man, what a place they must be in. How must that feel? Can you imagine if that was like for us, be popping our collars like, yeah, you better treat us right or we'll leave. But ain't nobody looking for us.
Part of the panic that's happening.
One of the things that we've talked about on this show a lot is the fact that the American immigration system has been telling people to do certain things, and there will be something at the end of all of that, right? So that includes Dreamers, who gave a lot of information to the federal government, all of the information.
Addresses. I was in Chicago the first day that Dreamers were applying for the DACA program. I will never forget this, at the pier. And I remember Dreamers saying, should we trust the government? And then her friend said, but we want to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And now you have immigrants who are going to their court cases, right? They've been told to show up, that this is a part of their process, their cases, many of them being dismissed, so that when they walk out of that room, ICE agents can snatch them up and deport them. So this is, all of the promises that we've made to people as a country, follow these instructions and these rules. Once you're here, you will get some kind of status.
There is no due process. Now, mind you, a lot of activists criticize President Obama for being deporter-in-chief. But President Obama and Obama...
He wasn't no damn deporter-in-chief. Obama was deporting people because he passed health care, and it was a whole lot of people here getting free health care and not contributing in any way. And he convinced a lot of middle class and lower middle class people to take that burden. Everybody keeps saying things that aren't true. And once he convinced everybody to take that burden and say, you know what, we're going to probably lower our health care a little bit, but it'll be for the good of the uninsured in the country. But a lot of people weren't thinking about those undocumented immigrants who working by the thousands in these processing plants and all over these fields picking the country's food. Obama knew, but people weren't thinking among the illegals. No one was thinking anything about the illegal immigrants. We were thinking about people here already. People here who have low-paying jobs, not the car wash workers and not the fruit pickers, not those folks. And they're the ones who have health care. They go in there and sit right next to you, get their health care like you get yours. But we weren't thinking along those lines, and Obama was. And he did this big deportation push, and he wasn't doing the due process thing either. That's a lie. Obama had no different technique than Trump because he was dealing with so many numbers of immigrants being deported that he couldn't process them all properly. I think out of 100%, maybe they were at 25 or 26% was getting the due process. And that ain't good. That means 75% of them were just being sent the hell back, which is kind of what Trump is doing. And it's the outcry is by party. The outcry is by that kind of the constituency. It has nothing to do with this being worse than that or this being bad or any of that. It's who did it. Obama did it more humanely. Trump's just being racist. The result is the same. It's how you package it. They put little sweet words on it and you're supposed to be able to digest that better, I guess. That shit don't work for me. And I really believe that Obama was onto something, but he was onto something for the wrong reason. He was onto something to push as hard as he could to make that health care bullshit he did work. So then everybody have health care and illegal immigrants would be sliding in because the corporations ain't paying for them. And we would all be okay with it because we thought he'd make it work. And he might have got away with it had not Trump won and interrupted that long run of Democrats that we were about to see. And Trump didn't only interrupt it, he got in there and disrupted in a way that some Republicans who would have won wouldn't have. They would have been a lot more on the same page with what the Democrats are trying to do. But no matter who wins, who's in majority, who's in the minority, don't you guys find it strange that they can't agree on immigration? They just absolutely cannot. Everybody is so passionate about their side that they're not willing to say, these are the top three things that just absolutely have to happen in an immigration bill for the Democrats. And then the Republicans be able to bust it out too. This is what we need. These 5 things we just have to have. And they ought to be able to get together and work it out. Where even though those 5 to 8 things that they both know got to happen for their side to even be in would be worth relinquishing 1 or 2 of them to make a bill that the United States government can stand behind, and the citizens of the country won't feel like we're such a low priority when it comes to who come in this country and who don't.
Administration, there was a sense of due process. When it comes to this, it's, it's just chaos. It's utter chaos. And people keep telling.
And I'm going to say this. Chaos is letting them in the first place. That's goddamn chaos. Don't act like allowing millions of illegal immigrants to scatter all throughout your country and change the demographics of the areas in which they decide to live. Do not act like that's innocent and organized and everybody just got a process already set up for it. It's unfortunate for him to get on TV and lie like that. And then when you're trying to reverse it, oh no, that's chaos. That's just crazy. Everybody just can't adjust to that. But coming in, we are orderly and on the same page. That's wishful thinking and bullshit.
telling us get legal, follow the process, and the fact that people are arrested at the courthouse as they're following the process. I have to say though, Eugene and Jonathan, when I think about this moment that we're in, I think Trump and Stephen Miller, hi Stephen Miller, what they're doing is basically pushing the system at the very edge, to the very edge. And
letting illegal immigrants in by the millions is pushing the system to the edge. It's removing people will require resources and money, for no doubt. A whole lot of people and a whole lot of money to get them out. But allowing illegal immigrants in requires a whole lot of resources and a whole lot of people. There are some agencies that wouldn't exist if we didn't have such a high level of illegal immigration, and some of those that might exist wouldn't be as heavily burdened.
Showing people just how broken the system is. We shouldn't have 12 million undocumented people in this country. There should be a process for those 12 million people to actually change their status and not be this illegal alien, this boogeyman in people's minds. Now, I don't know what Stephen Miller would do. Maybe we just take so much, we live in his head rent free. And unfortunately, the cost of that are people's lives and families' lives.
Yeah. Trump is like, what do you say? We're living rent free in his head, but the cost is human lives. That ain't rent free then. To live rent free in Trump's head would mean that there are no casualties, no people dying, and maybe things going even more your way than they already are. The Democrats are for sure benefiting greatly and have over these past several decades with on the immigration front. Getting the illegal immigrants in, for the most part, it's been win-win. You know, they've been able to get those people into the United States without citizenship, and they've been able to get them in a situation where in pretty much anywhere in the country they can work. They go to work for less, obviously, less with no benefits, less with no safety concerns or regulations being enforced, and injuries and those kind of things not being reported. We know all that stuff. But for someone to sit here and say that you're living rent free in Trump's head, but then you're living rent free in everybody's head who thinks that illegal immigration needs to be dealt with. If you feel that's rent free, the cost could be their vote. The costs don't have to be something that you might look at. Maybe you guys are okay. Maybe you guys have done enough over the decades that you did reign supreme, but you don't now. And if you can say things like that so arrogantly about Trump and living rent free in his head, then maybe you think you're living rent free in our head. Because I think you are. You're living rent free in my head. I think about that shit all the time. And I think there's other things that we should be able to be concerned with, but we can't, because we have to actively think about this. We have to actively come up with ways to respond to the immigration problem in the country. It's so natural to drive down the street and see someone who built a wagon or a cart and they're selling fruit juices, cut up fruit, tacos, burritos, clothes, T-shirts, whatever they choose to sell. And the police just drive right by. It's no big old deal. Hey, how you doing, Pepe? Just waving at folks. It's just the way things go. Black people should be mad if they can't just pull up and start selling barbecue without the smell of barbecue going in somebody's window, and all Karen got to do is call the cops and that barbecue grill is about to be shut down. But you can drive by another person's cart and feel sympathy for them, feel bad for their plight, for their place in life. And you would never call the police because you want to help them. We just need to open up those wonderful, warm feelings for everybody and not just a certain group. And pray that Trump gets the birthright citizenship figured out. If it's the way it has been, that's cool. And if it's the way he wants it to be, that's cool too. But we need to figure out something. And everyone in the country needs to start obeying the laws, especially the lawmakers. They seem to be the worst at it. Like, comment, share. Please subscribe. We'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.